You're listening to Thursday Night AMP on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Thursday Night AngryMarks.com Pro Wrestling and Mixed Martial Arts Podcast. Here again with two fine gentlemen. My name is Stevie J. First on the line is Jason Harlan, a.k.a. The Great Sudoku.
Sudoku is hungry for some cupcakes.
Well, that's better than being hungry for poo, because that's what you think of Roadblock on Saturday. It's poo.
Pretty much, yeah. Roadblock's gonna suck.
We'll get into that in a minute. But speaking of things that are set to suck, Jordan J. Garber has a few gripes on his mind. Jordan, what do you hate?
Well, you kind of put me on the spot there, Steve. I don't really know what I hate. Maybe,
well, that's not what you said off the air.
Maybe certain people in Winnipeg, Manitoba, but besides that, I don't know. I'm not really a hateful person. I'm pretty much a man of love, so... yeah, not much going on around the world of George Garber right now.
Yeah, well, you definitely said a few things sucked off the air, so I'm not going to put you on the spot and make you recount each and every one of them. But yeah, I felt like there was some hate in your heart. That makes it good because we're Angry Marks. We got some anger to get out here. We're going to start with WWE Roadblock. And Jason, I believe you said this show doesn't even need to exist. So tell our listeners why you feel that way.
Yeah, before we went on the air, I was saying to Stevie and to Jordan here, do we really need Fastlane and do we really need Roadblock? Can we not just go straight from Royal Rumble into Mania with just 2 months of build-up with no pay-per-views, no special events, no network specials, just 2 months of straight build-ups? If you want to throw in a Saturday night's main event, hey, more power to you. But really, we don't need these shit-ass pay-per-view events like Fastlane and these network special ass farts like Roadblock. These add nothing to the product to an already oversaturated market of WWE programming. This adds absolutely nothing.
Well, can't you make the argument that this is Saturday night's main event because it's happening on a Saturday, not a Sunday, and it was originally a house show, and then it got rebooked to be a WWE Network special, so it kind of is Saturday night's main event at this point.
If it was happening on NBC, if we had the Peacock, it would be Saturday night's main event. But this is kind of your WWE Network special main event, so it doesn't quite have that fanfare and that mass media market appeal that Saturday night's main event would have.
Well, even when they were doing Saturday night's main event, the revival of it in the 2000s, it wasn't pulling stellar ratings like it did in the 80s. So I think on WWE Network, it might actually get a bigger audience. But Jordan, I could hear you trying to get in there, so I'm going to give you the floor. Do you think Roadblock needs to exist?
Well, they did have Saturday night's main event before SummerSlam and all of those other pay-per-views before Survivor Series, before WrestleMania. I just say they bring back the Saturday night's main event. They bring back the good old days. First off, the name of the pay-per-view sounds horrendous. Roadblock. I know what they mean. Oh, it's the road to WrestleMania and Roadblock. Have you guys seen the promotional poster? It looks like a fucking Tonka truck advertisement. And, it doesn't really look anything appealing. Triple H versus Dean Ambrose. We know who's gonna win the match. We know Triple H is gonna win the match because it's you can't explain why he's going to win. You're just going to win it. And it's just the way it's going to be. It's very predictable, and that's what gets me about the event.
Well,
Although
I have
there's one
to.
thing I'd like to chime in here about Triple H versus Dean Ambrose. What's really interesting to see is the dynamic with WWE fans. When we have Triple H going up against Roman Reigns, the fans love Triple H. They can't get enough of Triple H. Triple H is the penultimate baby face when he is taking on Roman Reigns. However, you throw Dean Ambrose into the equation, Dean Ambrose taking on Triple H, all of a sudden the fans realize what shit Triple H is here in the year 2016 and how he has no business in the ring, let alone holding a championship belt, let alone the highest championship belt in WWE, and the fans are all behind Ambrose.
Well, the one common factor there, Jason, is that Roman Reigns is so reviled right now by your hardcore WWE fans, they're going to cheer whoever's against him. If it was Dean Ambrose versus Roman Reigns, they'd cheer for Dean in that too. It's not just the fact that Dean is over as a babyface because he is. It's just they hate Roman Reigns that much that they will actually cheer for the authority over Roman Reigns.
That's what I'm saying, and I will take it a step further. I'm going to say it's not only the hardcore WWE fans. These are just WWE fans. These are the casual WWE fans. These are the people who tune in and just get sick of Roman Reigns, watching maybe one or two matches of Roman Reigns, saying, yeah, this guy is not working as a babyface, let alone the top babyface. Let's just watch him get squashed.
All right, well, I'm going to put it to you both before we continue with Roadblock, which, I might add, sounds like what happens when you eat too much chili and not enough fiber. That's a WWE roadblock right there, but be that as it may, do you think they've purposefully kept Roman Reigns off TV and off of Roadblock to help get him a babyface pop when he comes back? I'm going to ask Jordan first.
Yes, that's what they're doing. They're realizing that it's not working with him right now. Like, it's working, but they're not getting the best reaction they can. So they're gonna say, hey, Roman Reigns, go on a little bit of a break, have a few beers, chill with the ladies, do all that, and come back in a few weeks. And when you come back in a few weeks, maybe everyone will cheer for you, but in reality, he's going to get the same reaction, which is not not a good reaction. People are going to cheer for him, but not a lot of people are going to cheer for him because what they're doing, but the kids are going to cheer for Roman Reigns, right? Like, there's always these kids, and this is what WWE is trying to set their product towards. PG now. So they need someone that kids are going to look up to, and of course they get Roman Reigns in his little uniform looking like he's about to fight in Vietnam. So they give him his uniform, and the kids like that. So they're going to make Roman Reigns their top guy so they get more of a viewership. But it's just not working with the older audience. It's only working with the younger audience.
Well, speaking of the older audience, good morning, Vietnam! Ladies and gentlemen, straight from the Delta, it's Roman Reigns coming back for WrestleMania. Is that going to work? I ask you, Jason.
Well, first of all, Roadblock, didn't he team with Billy Gunn before he became Mr. Ass? But anyway, what they're doing with keeping Roman Reigns off of Roadblock is exactly what they're doing. It's a macrocosm of what they did in the Royal Rumble by taking him out of the Royal Rumble match and not even stretching him to the back. Just go to the back and sit this one out until the end comes around. And that's exactly what they are doing here. And I actually think it would cause more excitement and it would boost the ratings for WrestleMania if Dean Ambrose were to throw a monkey wrench into the mix here and actually take the title off of Triple H. Then you'd actually have an exciting storyline going into WrestleMania.
All right, well then let's take it right from that to predictions because I've got a 4-match card in front of me. We're going to run it down, and you've already said that Dean Ambrose would be a nice monkey wrench in the plans and shake up WrestleMania if he won, but do you think that's going to happen?
Oh, fuck. Triple H is going over because booking, and WWE booking is nothing if not predictable. I would love to see this love to see the storyline for WrestleMania just be made that much more interesting in the blink of an eye, but I don't see it happening. I see Triple H retaining.
Jordan, what are your thoughts? Does Dean Ambrose win or does Triple H retain?
Triple H retains.
Think we're going to have to make it unanimous on that one. As he said in his promo on Raw a couple of weeks ago, you will all bow down to authority. And that's exactly what Dean Ambrose is going to have to do. As much as we all love him, as much as he gets cheered over just about anybody right now, it's not his time. Not yet, anyway. So
yeah, he's been wrestling for quite a while, but WWE-wise, his WWE career, he's not quite ready to be WWE champion. I just don't, I can't picture him having the title around his waist just yet. Give it a few more years to build him up.
I wouldn't wait a few more years, because in that time, he could get seriously injured and it could be too late. You could have the Daniel Bryan situation if you wait too long to pull the trigger on him. I would say it's not his time now, but it should be his time soon, very soon. Just not at Roadblock. But we've got
I would say before the end of the year. It's like after Mania, maybe even before SummerSlam. But yeah, the fans are completely behind him, and I think the time to pull the trigger is coming soon. And exactly what Stevie said, you don't want to risk another Daniel Bryan situation where you have this super hot, super over babyface and Dean Ambrose that could risk getting injured, and you have wasted and squandered an opportunity to push that guy.
Exactly. So let's see if they're going to squander an opportunity with the NXT guys here. We have the champions, the Revival. They are Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder, going against fan favorites Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy with their manager Carmella. So this time I'm going to start with Jordan. What do you think is going to happen here? Do the champions retain, or do Enzo and Colin make sure they're SAWFT soft and beat the heck out of them?
Man, first off, speaking of the Revival, I had the honor to speak with Scott Dawson before just when he got signed by WWE. And, he's a great guy, and he really deserves the spotlight. So, it's definitely going to be a good thing to see this match on the pay-per-view. It's probably one of the only positives of the event. To note that they're facing Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy, though, and that they're fan favorites, and this match is just out of nowhere on the card. It's an NXT match on a main roster event. I think Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy are going to pull a big surprise and win the belts, because after all, it is a WWE Network special.
That does lead me to a follow-up question, though, Jordan. It seems to me that some of the matches we're getting on this Roadblock show are matches that would have happened at either NXT TakeOver Dallas or at WrestleMania 32. Like the next match we're going to talk about, Lesnar versus Wyatt, that was originally booked for WrestleMania. So do you think they're blowing their wad too early by putting these matches on Roadblock? Or do you think that they didn't have enough time for these matches and that's why they're on Roadblock?
I guess, I think Roadblock, sorry, I couldn't even say it. It's not Roadblock, it's Roadblock. But, the show's probably going to be a Roadblock. But, point being, is that, sorry, what was I saying about Roadblock again?
You were saying it was Roadblock.
It was Roadblock, okay.
but
well,
do you
Brock
think
Lesnar and Dean Ambrose doesn't seem like that bad of a matchup for WrestleMania, but what they're trying to do, it's a filler pay-per-view. They're trying to say, let's get something to lead up to WrestleMania. We need a filler show. So the writers know it's a crap show, but they know they have to throw something out of their ass to give to the fans. So this is why they are presenting us with this crapter piece. But Roadblock. We'll see how it goes.
All right, Jason, I'm going to ask you those questions in reverse order. So here's your chance to shine. Do you think they took these matches off of NXT TakeOver Dallas and WrestleMania to put them on Roadblock, or do you think that these matches are exclusive to Roadblock? And what do you think is going to happen in the Revival versus Enzo and Colin?
Number one, WWE booking has no fucking clue what they're doing. Yes, they pulled these off of WrestleMania. These would be better suited matches at WrestleMania, maybe even at NXT TakeOver Dallas. Although, the one positive I want to bring up here in Roadblock is when you have a match like Dash and Dawson versus Enzo Amore and Big Cass, you cannot fuck that match up. Whoever wins this match, whoever loses this match, this is going to be a fantastic match. This match is going to steal the entire card. I mean, this is a match that I might even put on WrestleMania as opposed to NXT TakeOver Dallas, just because they are that fucking good. But what I see new NXT Tag Team Champs, and you can't teach that.
Thank you. I'm glad you know the catchphrases too. But you know what? I could have made this match even more spectacular if we had American Alpha in there. You know, I just want to see Chad Gable running wild on everybody.
That would be almost insane. I mean, that would almost mirror what New Japan does with their junior IWGP Junior Tag Team Champion belts, where every single title match is at least 3 or more teams vying for the title. That would be some craziness. But with the NXT talent, with the way that New Japan tends to pull it off, I would love to see that shit too.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky and this match at this NXT match on Roadblock will lead to a 3-way at the NXT TakeOver Dallas show. I've got Jordan Knight all of a sudden. I can't talk, so maybe I should throw it to Jordan for Brock Lesnar versus Bray Wyatt. Who's going to win?
That's a good question there. I honestly, that's where they kind of get you. I don't know. You know what? Brock Lesnar is pretty dominant, and he has a big match against Dean Ambrose at WrestleMania, so what they're going to probably do is they're going to show how dominant he is, and he's going to destroy Bray Wyatt, and he's going to face Dean Ambrose at WrestleMania, though. Just guessing, though.
I agree. And since I didn't give my pick on the last match, I also believe that Enzo and Big Cass will go over in that match. But I'm going with Brock Lesnar as well against Bray Wyatt because he didn't get the chance to shine at Fastlane. He got double teamed. He got put through 2 tables. He got left for dead and didn't get to pick up the big win and go on as the conquering hero like his manager Paul Heyman predicted. So this is his revenge. And Bray Wyatt will get to have a good match with him. They'll give him some time. They'll give him some shine spots. But in the end, Brock Lesnar will F5 him once, if not twice, and pin him and go into WrestleMania looking strong. That's what they need Brock Lesnar to do. What do you think, Jason?
I'm going to make it a clean sweep. I mean, if they knew what they were doing with Bray Wyatt, they would have pulled the trigger on him already. They would have built him up to go over Brock Lesnar in this match. They wouldn't have him stuck in the mire of this 50-50 booking crap that they have him stuck in right now. And even with Luke Harper and Eric Rowan and Braun Strowman at ringside, there is no chance in hell of Bray Wyatt winning this match. This is all Brock Lesnar steamrolling his way to WrestleMania.
In fact, if they try to interfere, it's going to be like the Brock Lesnar equivalent of a super kick party. It's going to be F5s for everybody.
F5 party.
Yeah. You know what? I want to see that. That would make Roadblock fun for me if we get an F5 party. So I'm advocating for that.
I could see that happening too. I could see some interference from the rest of the Wyatt clan there and Brock Lesnar just having none of it.
Yes. I want that to happen. Please, wrestling gods, let that happen. But we've got one more match on Roadblock, so let's just blow right through it. Unlike a Roadblock when you go to the bathroom, we're getting through this one quick. It's the New Day versus the League of Nations. Jason, what do you think?
Oh, this brings me to an even bigger question here. Does anyone care about the League of Nations? I mean,
no. Let me interrupt you and say no. Nobody does, but go on.
This is supposed to be your number one heel faction, but to me, they just seem like a primetime version of the Social Outcasts. It's like they're nothing, they're doing nothing, they are going nowhere. Fuck the League of Nations, the New Day is hot, the New Day is over. Did I say it already? Fuck the League of Nations, the New Day is winning this match.
I think that the League of Nations already lost this feud before the match even started because they've been getting pwned, not just owned, they've been getting pwned on social media. So, Jason, you are absolutely correct. Jordan, what do you think?
No, I don't really care, to be honest with you, but let's say the New Day. The New Day's got this.
I think that's a fair prediction, especially since they have big plans for the New Day at WrestleMania 32. Now, I don't know if they can pull this off. It's going to require a lot of high-strung wiring and safety harnesses and nets and all sorts of other things if they want to do this. But the rumor is that the New Day wants to fly in on unicorns.
What, in the Blue Blazer?
Yeah, let's not have a repeat of the Blue Blazer, please.
Flying on unicorns. What's gonna happen if like something bad happens? So you can't fly in on unicorns. There's already a controversy about going in wrestling about going down on a zip line. That's not a good idea. like, that don't even risk that, because what happened before with going down zip lines and doing all of those props ended up in a tragedy, so I don't think they should do it.
See, this is why I proposed in the Angry Marks news update that if they really want to pull this off, the smart way to do it would be to flood the arena with fog like the Undertaker's entrance and deck out some scooters with unicorn heads and have them ride down on unicorns, but in the fog you can't see the scooter wheels.
Well, hell, back in the day, Lady Godiva and Glow rode on a freaking horse to the ring. Just get a horse and strap a freaking cone to its head and have them ride freaking horses with cones strapped to their goddamn. If it's good enough for Lady Godiva, it's good enough for Kofi Kingston.
That is amazing. I think that is the first ever Lady Godiva reference on Thursday Night AMP, so I tip my cap to you, good sir.
Wouldn't have gotten through puberty without Lady Godiva.
Ooh, Lordy. I'll take Lady Godiva over Sunny at this point, I'll tell you that much. Okay, gentlemen, we got through Roadblock. We can flush this one down the commode and move on now. So, I'm gonna defer to Jordan if he's got any topics he wants to talk about. The floor is yours. Otherwise, we will move on to New Japan.
Let's talk about, let's see here. Let's talk about Wrestling Society X.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Just kidding.
We actually could. I do own that DVD set, the complete first and last season. I have that in my collection.
Talk about some Teddy Hart. All right.
I don't actually know.
Doing it for her.
Guys, you're the boss. You're the big boss, Steve, so you should come up with the next topic.
All right. Well, if you defer to me, then I will say we're going to talk about New Japan. So let's get the rundown on the latest events from the New Japan Cup. And fill us in, Jason. What are the standings? How did it all turn out?
Alrighty, yeah, we had some round of 8 matches that went on March the 8th. Here is how it stands right now. Let's take a look here. Yes, indeed. We had, Bad Luck Fale taking on Michael Elgin. We had Michael Elgin going over in that one. And the other side of that bracket, Hiroki Goto taking on Tama Tonga. Goto goes over on that one. So your first semifinal matchup that will take place this Saturday is Unbreakable Michael Elgin versus Hiroki Goto in semifinal match number 1. Surprising as hell, Toru Yano upset Satoshi Kojima to move on to the second semifinal, and then Tetsuya Naito beats Tomohiro Ishii and moves on. So in the other block of the semifinal, we have Toru Yano taking on Tetsuya Naito. And as our co-host who isn't here tonight, Abby, likes to say, Michael Elgin is her pick to win this tournament outright. And yeah, both semifinal matches and the final match are taking place on Saturday. And for my money, Michael Elgin is the one to pick. I'll run down the matches that we have on the card for bright and early at 4:30 in the morning this Saturday. The curtain jerker is going to be a barn burner, though. This is going to be a dandy. We have at Jay White NZ, Mr. Jay White himself taking on at the David Finlay. These two young lions have really stepped up their game of late. They're having a singles match to open the show. Do not sleep on this match. You're going to want to check this one out. After you check this match out, then you can go and take your bathroom break, because we have Captain fucking New Japan teaming with Tiger Mask, taking on Juice Robinson and Jushin Thunder Liger, and I could give 3 shits about who wins this match, because it's just fucking shit.
Now, can I interrupt for a second? I heard a rumor that they're going to bring back a Tiger Mask cartoon in Japan. Is this true?
Yes, there is I don't know if it was the last show or the show before that. It must have been, it was the Thursday show, because Friday was when they announced Hayabusa had died, and that just fucking devastated me. But yes, they are, as we talked about a little bit on last Thursday's show, they are bringing back a Tiger Mask anime, and they even mentioned that's something the WWE could never do.
That's very true. I don't think there's anybody in WWE that would be over enough to produce an anime about, except maybe the New Day.
That would be, yeah, like with unicorns and stuff. You could make like a spiritual successor to Rainbow Bright or some shit like that.
Yes, indeed. My Little Pony New Day style.
There you go. My Little New Day.
All right, back to New Japan. Let's go on the rest.
Next match, we have an interesting tag match. We have 2 of Los Ingobernables of Japan. We have Bushi and Evil taking on Yoshihashi and Tomohiro Ishii. This is going to be a really interesting match to see what happens when Ishii and Evil are in the ring, because during this tournament, the two of these guys tore the fucking house down in round one, and I would love to see a program between the two of them going forward. So definitely look for Ishii and Evil in this match and what they do. Yoshihashi and Bushi can kind of fuck off. I don't care what the hell they do, but keep an eye on Ishii and Evil when they're in the ring together. Then we have the first of the two semifinal matches in the New Japan Cup. We have Toru Yano taking on Tetsuya Naito. I would be very, very surprised if Yano pulls some kind of shenanigan bullshit upset win like he has in the past two matches. I think they're trying to create a push for Tetsuya Naito and Los Ingobernables, and I can't see anything happening here but Naito making it into the finals. I don't see Naito winning in the finals, but I do see Tetsuya Naito going over Toru Yano to make the finals.
Fair enough.
Next match is your other semifinal match. In the other block, we have Hiroki Goto taking on the unbreakable Michael Elgin. And again, Hiroki Goto is doing sweet fuck all in New Japan right now. They might as well send him over to Noah. Send Goto over to Noah. Give him a fresh start. Let's bring in Suzuki. Let's bring in Taka Michinoku. Let's bring in the Killer Elite Squad. Let's get the guys that New Japan sent to Noah back over to New Japan. But I digress. In this one, I think it's going to be Michael Elgin winning, which will set up your main event, which will be Michael Elgin versus Tetsuya Naito, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. Because before that main event, we have some more throwaway bullshit. We have 10 Cozies, Satoshi Kojima and Hiroshi Tenzan, taking on Mr. Ass, Ryusuke Taguchi, and Katsuyori Shibata. And there is just nothing at all developing out of this match. There's no feuds that are going on. I don't see Kojima or Tenzan challenging for Shibata's never openweight title. I see Taguchi doing a whole bunch of ass bumps. I see him still mocking Shinsuke Nakamura, even though Nakamura is no longer in New Japan. I see Satoshi Kojima doing his spaz chops into the corner. I see Tenzan doing his Mongolian chops. But other than that, it's just going to be the same old shit from these four guys and not much going on there. We have kind of an interesting match after that, though. We have two of the more wily veterans in Yuji Nagata and Manabu Nakanishi taking on Kazushi Sakuraba and Kazuchika Okada, the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. And it's always a fun time when you have Okada and Sakuraba on one side. And yeah, I'm kind of interested to see the matchup you would get between Yuji Nagata here and Kazushi Sakuraba, two of the more aging submission artists. That's kind of the matchup that I'm looking forward to see. Is how can Nagata and Sakuraba work over each other here? I'm not all that interested in how can Okada go over Nakanishi or even Nagata for that matter. But what really intrigues me about this one is, the Nagata lock versus the Gracie Killer and Kazushi Sakuraba.
Now, Jason, let me interject again for a second here. Have you caught the rumor mill that WWE is once again interested in signing Kazuchika Okada?
I have not caught that rumor, no.
Well, apparently, New Japan offered Okada a 5-year contract extension to negate the possibility of him leaving for WWE. That's the hot rumor right now.
That would be great.
They can't afford to lose any more of these talents in Japan to WWE if they're going to keep, if WWE brings them in, then they don't do much with them, then what a waste. You could have stayed in New Japan, because at least in New Japan Pro Wrestling, you could demonstrate wrestling and passion. And sometimes it's not always about those big paychecks. Sometimes it's about it's showing off your passion for the business and doing it in the ring.
And I think Jordan has just answered the question I was about to throw out to a roundtable format here, but I'm still going to roundtable this anyway. As Jordan had mentioned, WWE has been signing away New Japan guys left and right. The guy that we've seen so far has been AJ Styles, and I think we've had enough time now to kind of make up our minds on if the WWE has botched the introduction of AJ Styles or if they have done it well. Personally, I think they are misusing Styles. I think they have botched it. I think it was a complete waste for Styles to go to WWE. I'll throw it back to you here first, Jordan.
Yeah, like I said, though, WWE keeps signing these New Japan Pro Wrestling talents, and it's great that these stars are making their WWE debuts and getting the spotlight around the world and not just in Japan. But New Japan has quite the following as well, and a lot of wrestling fans do check out that product. So I feel bad for him because he's faced with this 5-year deal with New Japan where he's stuck with going. or he can have a chance to explore the United States and other countries in the WWE. So hopefully we see what happens, but I'm just saying, hopefully WWE doesn't keep taking New Japan stars and then treat them like crap and then throw them in the dumpster. That's what I'm trying to mean, because these are real wrestlers, and I want to see real wrestlers compete. And me as a wrestling fan, that's very important to me.
And there was one thing I'd want to mention in regards to AJ too, before I throw it over to Stevie here, was on Monday Night Raw with, what do they call that gay ass tag team? Y2AJ taking on the New Day. And we had AJ Styles hit that springboard 450 move that he does on, I forget who it was, if it was Big E or if it was...
That was cool to see, though. It was
Kofi,
to see that he shows his moveset. I know they can't use the Styles Clash, which is fucked. But at least he's doing his springboard thing. That was cool. When I saw that thing happen on Raw, it reminded me of when he won the TNA World Title, when he did that move.
And it impressed the fans. What really impressed me, I mean, I've seen AJ do moves like that in New Japan. What really struck me about this was how the fans booed after whoever it was in New Day kicked out of that 450 springboard. It's like the fans are getting pissed at how the WWE is misusing them. Exactly. The fans thought that was going to be a 3 count, and they booed because it legitimately should have been a 3 count. And it was like, how the fuck are you booking these matches?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll kick this over to Stevie. What's your thoughts on how the WWE has treated AJ in their introduction of him into the Hall of Vincitude?
I suppose I remain the optimist about it. I know Abby's been down on it. I know you're down on it, and I believe Jordan's down on it as well. But I believe that after he spent so many years in TNA, either not being used to his full potential or being used to that full potential for a little bit, but only as a segue to other people, I feel like he had a great run in New Japan, and I appreciated that New Japan run, but at the same time, he wanted to make an impression in America, and maybe he didn't get to make that full impression when he was in TNA. So this is his last best chance to do it, and I'm still holding out hope that WWE will get this right in the end.
Knock on wood there that they do, but yeah, it's just hard when they put him in a program with Jericho first, and then, you know, I can kind of see where they're going with that, but then they team him up with Jericho, which is kind of confusing. Then on top of all of that, they have a title match which should have been either done at Roadblock or WrestleMania, but they give it away on Raw, and they end up not winning, and then Jericho ends up turning on AJ, so they're gonna feud again? What the? This booking is just...
It happened already, and they're doing it again. Like, it was cool to see the first time. I thought it was awesome, but now they're doing it again. Like, they gotta move AJ ahead quickly, in my opinion.
Well, maybe this is the way to finally blow it off and move him ahead once and for all, is give him the clean win over Jericho on the grandest stage of them all, and then he can move on to other things.
Well, we know.
Hopefully, I don't want to see them just. I'm sick of seeing their singles matches. They've done it enough. Please, just fucking stop with it already.
Yeah, I hear you. But back to Okada. The good news here on this front, if you're a fan of New Japan, is I know I've read at least one interview that was translated from Japanese to English where he said he's not really that interested in WWE because he feels like he is the face of New Japan and wants to be that face of New Japan.
What was really cool, too, was reading an interview that was translated from Nakamura, who was saying he was never into WWE, and it was just kind of funny how WWE came calling him, and now he's in WWE. So I kind of like that little backhanded slap that Nakamura delivered, too. But it is good news to hear that Okada is staying put, that he's not interested in going to WWE, because if you think that Kato fucking gimmick they gave you in TNA was bad, just wait till you see what Vince McMahon has in store for you.
Indeed, which does lead me to one other point, but I want to make sure that we covered all of the J-Cup coming up this weekend. Did we leave anything out before I get to my next point?
There are 2 more matches. The second to last match on the card is another fucking throwaway. We have Tomoaki Hanma, Togi Makabe, and Hiroshi Tanahashi, taking on Bullet Club, Yujiro Takahashi, Tama Tonga, and Bad Luck Fale. Again, this seems like just a complete throwaway. They just want to put some big names in there like Tanahashi to pop the crowd before we have the final New Japan Cup match.
All right. And then, of course, the finals. We got, you're predicting
I'm predicting that it's going to be Michael Elgin over Goto and Naito over Yano. So I'm predicting that the finals is going to be Michael Elgin versus Tetsuya Naito, and I would predict that Michael Elgin would go over Tetsuya Naito because Michael Elgin could just kill anybody that he wanted to.
Very true, but it's still impressive that Naito gets to the finals. I think that sets him up for possibly the next few months to be a top rival to Michael Elgin and also to Okada.
It would be, and as much as I like to shit on Tetsuya Naito, I would like to see him emerge, and I tell you a program that I would love to see, even though they are both heels, I would love to see Tetsuya Naito challenge Kenny Omega for that IWGP Intercontinental title.
I like the sound of that as well. I think they could have some really classic Intercontinental matches. You could even do like best 2 out of 3 falls and really let them go to town and show their stuff.
Because they both can be that batshit crazy heel, and they can both work a very fast-paced, almost luchador style, almost a Lucha Japan style, like back in Tori Uman from back in the day. So it would be cool to see that program, and I would like to see Naito kind of step up his game to that next level, which he is capable of when he is in the ring with a good opponent, and Michael Elgin certainly is that.
Yes, indeed. So my other point that I wanted to address, as long as we're on the subject of Puroresu, is Kota Ibushi being brought in for the WWN live shows on WrestleMania weekend, which is good news for me because I have a ticket to the Mercury Rising Super Show, so I'm going to get to see Kota Ibushi live. But what do you think of this fact that he's starting to take dates in the United States? Do you think this is going to put him on WWE or TNA's radar?
I think he might make whatever the fuck they're calling that NXT Junior Heavyweight
the Global Cruiserweight Series, GCS.
Yes, I think that might put him on the radar there, but especially with how much of a free agent that Ibushi wants to be, especially with him severing ties to both New Japan and DDT and him just wanting to go out on his own, I could see him working dates here and there for NXT and doing, as many indie shows as his heart desires in the U.S., but I really don't think he wants to or is in a position to work full-time for WWE right now.
And speaking of interviews that were translated from Japanese to English, the one I saw from Ibushi about his departure from DDP and DDP? No, not Diamond Dallas Page. DDT.
DDT. Bang!
Yeah, okay, sorry. DDT and New Japan, what he had to say about leaving was he wants to create the future evolution of pro wrestling. He doesn't know what it is yet, but he wants to be a part of it, and he doesn't think he can do it as part of any other promotion. So I think that leads to what you were saying, Jason, about him working indie dates, maybe working some shows for NXT, but he can't create that next evolution of pro wrestling he so vehemently desires to create if he's locked down to one company.
Well, you know what you should do, Kota Ibushi, if you really want to make this next transformation and take wrestling to the next level? Get all the money you can and just fucking buy TNA. Just buy them outright, make them your promotion, make it, Puro USA, and do whatever the fuck you want to do, but just put TNA out of its misery.
Well, that's going to lead to my next segue.
That bad.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to go to Jordan for next, because I know he thinks that we don't talk about TNA enough on this show. So I want to get your latest thoughts on TNA this week. What did you think of Tuesday's show?
I actually didn't see it. I was working, but let's talk about TNA though. Yeah, it's not as good as it used to be, and it's not. But hey, you got Matt Hardy, you got Jeff Hardy, you still got them. They're still hanging around. Don't know for how much longer, but TNA is hanging on there. They're desperate right now, but hey, they're doing the best they can. And you know what? The commentary team's not so bad. You know what? There's a lot worse things that I've seen. At least this isn't like old time wrestling with Crazy Louie, local wrestling in Winnipeg. At least it's not that. At least this is TNA's a legit product, and you still have a chance to see some good wrestling. I think they're going to excel in the future. Actually, hopefully something. If they just sit down and figure something out and execute a plan, it might be as big as it was before.
All right.
Maybe Dixie Carter could do a porno.
No, I don't want to see that. But
But from what I understand, Panda Energy has now backed out of their funding for TNA. Is that correct?
They are subsisting on the revenues they get from TV syndication in the United States, Europe, and India. That's their sole revenue stream right now, along with whatever T-shirts and DVDs they can manage to sell.
But
well,
yeah, I know
they're
not with Panda Energy anymore, but maybe they should partner with Panda Express because I sure love the stir fries they get there.
Right. They could have a tag team called Sweet and Sour.
Oh yeah, but that's Larry Sweeney. You can't steal that gimmick. May he rest in peace.
We could have, I guess Kung Pao. You can't have that. You could have four guys: Moo, Goo, Guy, and Pan.
Well, that sounds like TNA circa 2003, but let me give you a couple of specifics since you didn't see the show, Jordan. And Jason, you could chime in on this as well. We had Kurt Angle's, allegedly, now I don't know this for a fact because he won't confirm that he's completely retired, but allegedly Kurt Angle's last match versus Bobby Lashley, it took 3 spears for Lashley to finish him and get the pin. What do you think of that being the final match for Kurt Angle in TNA? I'll start with Jordan.
It should have ended off on a victory, man. The guy's on a legendary career. I hate it when their wrestlers it's probably just me speaking as a fan, but when wrestlers have their last matches and these guys are absolute legends in the business, they should always, be victorious. Now Bobby Lashley's over, but how long is he going to be over before he goes to fucking Bellator again and does MMA and just quits wrestling again? I honestly think that Kurt Angle's last match should have had him over on Lashley to create a good impression. Like I said, 3 spears, cool spots there. At least it took 3 spears, all the drama, blah, blah, blah. But come on, Sylvester's last match, put them over for their last match, for fuck's sake. They should do that with every legendary wrestler. Their last match should always be a victory.
Well,
unless they're putting a star over who has a lot of potential. And guess what? Bobby Lashley doesn't have a lot of potential. His time has passed and his days are done. He's not going back to the WWE, and I loved watching him in the WWE. He was my favorite wrestler. I was a little kid sitting there downstairs watching ECW. His theme came out. I'm like, holy fuck, it's Bobby Lashley. And you know what? Those days as ECW World Champion are over. I think the time for Bobby Lashley, he should have done it. It should have been against Drew Galloway or something. Someone who has something left in the tank. But, of course, it was against Bobby Lashley, who honestly isn't that great anymore or that entertaining.
Well, 2 things about that. The first is they already did the Kurt Angle versus Drew Galloway match. That was a week or 2 weeks ago.
Which is great, by the way. I love that.
Yeah, and second of all, I'm going to both agree and disagree with you on the point that a retiring star or a star that's leaving should go over at the end. Now, emotionally, I'm totally with you on this one because I believe sometimes you want to remember a legend as a legend, let them go out on top in their last match. That's fun for me as a fan. But from the business side, from the pro wrestling side, a lot of wrestlers hate that idea. They believe the best thing they can do in their last match is to look up at the lights, do the honors for somebody else, and pass the torch. So, me as a fan,
the torch? He's like almost 40.
Okay, I'm not saying Bobby Lashley is that guy. This is where I'm agreeing with you. But I'm saying in the business in general, there is a philosophy that you lose on the way out to put somebody else over.
Now, I'll tell you what's really sad is you have Kurt Angle wrestling his last match for a promotion that pretty much everybody has forgotten about in TNA on a network that almost nobody gets and in a match that is pre-taped. That is what is really sad about Kurt Angle's final match.
Well, I will say this much.
WWE at WrestleMania.
I will say this much for Pop TV. They're in more homes than Destination America was. That doesn't mean more people are watching. That just means more people could watch. They are.
More people could.
There's one thing I do disagree with TNA, and that's their new opening theme song. What the fuck is that? What is that? It's like memories of me in high school. That's what that song reminds me of. What is that?
I won't even try to explain what it is. Instead, I will go to
Billy Corgan. I know that. But
I will just throw it to somebody else who has confusing music, and that's the charismatic enigma Jeff Hardy.
I like he has good music, though.
Yeah, they teased on this week's show that he's going to return on the live Impact next week. And let me clarify that. Live means on 2 hours tape delay. It's a same day aired show, but it's not truly live. So
It's 2 hours ago live.
yeah, 2 hours ago live. So
That's as live as TNA gets.
let me get a take from both of you on this. Do you think Jeff Hardy returning will boost the rating and more people will watch? I'll start with Jason on this one.
Hell no. I mean, I think if you could resurrect Hayabusa, get him to come in, bring in Sabu, bring in RVD, bring in Jinsei Shinzaki, it still wouldn't spike the ratings at all for TNA.
I don't know. I feel like there's enough creatures of the night, as Jeff Hardy likes to call them, that they might just tune in droves just to see him. What do you think, Jordan?
Oh, God. Of course it's going to boost ratings. It's Jeff Hardy, and yes, he's very old. But he's still, you know what? It's Jeff Hardy, and you know what? I'm just saying this because, as a fan, as a mark, Jeff Hardy is why I wanted to be in the wrestling business. It's all, with interviews, with everything, with ring announcing, with refereeing, being on hundreds of wrestling websites. Why I wanted to be in this business is because of Jeff Hardy. So, of course, I'm going to say yes. It's going to boost ratings. And you know what? Take this point in case. You have a world champion returning on a program. Everyone's going to cheer for it. When I interviewed Scott Steiner, a lot of people cheered for it. And no one knows who the hell I am. And I interviewed Maria Kanellis, and when I was on Pro Wrestling Inc. and The Observer and all those sites, it made an impact. Why? Because it's a big star returning. It's a big star making an appearance, and it's automatically going to be a help for ratings. And I learned that when I reached that level of wrestling journalism with the Maria Kanellis and doing all of that. And Jeff Hardy returning on TNA definitely is going to be a huge benefit for the company and for their ratings.
All right. Well, gentlemen, my final takeaway point from TNA, and this is probably more TNA discussion than we've had in a month, so I hope everybody that's a TNA fanatic out there is really enjoying this, because I've laid it in thick this week. But we got the news that Mr. Anderson was dismissed from TNA after their last tapings in Bethlehem, PA, apparently for unbecoming conduct, though we don't know exactly what that is. However, in an indie appearance this week, fans chanted, "Fuck TNA," at Mr. Anderson, and he responded, "You're right, that's exactly how I feel." And then he probably grabbed the microphone from the sky and went, "Mister!" But I digress. What do you guys think of Mr. Anderson no longer being in TNA and saying he agrees with what the fans chanted? I'll start with Jason.
To quote the late, great Dusty Rhodes, do you want Mr. Anderson, or do you want a midget beating off in a garbage can?
I think you actually want the midget is what you're saying.
I think what TNA wants is the midget. I don't know what Mr. Anderson did to get heat with the TNA brass, but I think it's cool that on the indies they were chanting "fuck TNA" and Mr. Anderson was completely down with it and saying, "Yeah, fuck those guys."
Yeah, I guess that's not the political thing to do if you ever hope to get back into their graces, but if that's how he feels, I guess.
It's TNA! Why the fuck would you want to get back into their graces? It's like, why would you want to go back to the minor leagues?
I don't believe in burning bridges unnecessarily, but you have a point. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I want to get Jordan's take as well.
Well, you know, everyone has the right to speak their mind, and I guess Mr. Anderson visited that. You know, TNA is going through pay cuts and all that, and when you're a wrestler trying to provide for your family to survive and put food on the table, especially when you're making big money in the WWE and you go down to TNA and a company, like I said, I know I was talking highly of the product before, but the reality is the company is losing money, so when he's not getting his paychecks to provide for his family, that's probably what it is. You know, he's not getting his checks. So he's doing these indie appearances, and he's very angry, and he's saying it in frustration, and hopefully everything works out for him, because I love seeing him in TNA.
You know, I'm getting deja vu here, Jordan. I feel like we had this exact same discussion about Bobby Roode.
Was he about to leave the company a year ago or so?
Yeah, well, he did for a cup of coffee, do some indie stuff, and and do a few appearances here and there, but then he came right back. Or am I thinking of the Cowboy James Storm? One of the two of them
That's James Storm.
Yeah, well, either way, you said the same thing before about James Storm that you're saying now about Mr. Anderson. I'm getting total deja vu from this.
Well, they signed James Storm to what more than WWE would sign him. So that's why James Storm is on TNA right now. Like you said,
Bobby Roode is the one guy in TNA that I would love to see New Japan snatch right after them. Oh, Bobby Roode would be a great fit in New Japan.
He would be an instant star in New Japan. He would be a top heel right away.
Indeed.
Indeed. And speaking of Indeed, that's going to be my final note before we wrap this up, gentlemen. I am 4 weeks into the Edge and Christian show now. I've become a convert to it. I am a fan of it. I think it's probably the best thing on WWE Network other than the specials, which you may or may not think are so special, but they're why most people keep it for $9.99 a month. But now I have another reason to keep it. Edge and Christian make me laugh each and every week. What do you guys think?
It's kind of like,
Canadians.
Yeah, go ahead, Jordan.
Gotta love Edge and Christian. They're Canadians. They're from this cold, cold country we call Canada. So, definitely representing Canada. Actually, they started out wrestling in Winnipeg as well. So, seeing them started out here and then, reach fame in the WWE and still seeing them have their own show and them being so funny, honestly, is awesome. I have nothing bad to say about Edge and Christian.
You know, before I go to Jason on this one, I noticed they really got away with a zinger a couple of weeks ago when they were sponsored by Sonny's, Sonny's Drops? I forget the exact name of the product, but they had Howard Finkel reading the promo for Sonny's Drops, and it was like, list of possible side effects include vomit, diarrhea, and cake fancer. Now flip the letters on cake fancer, and that's a major burn. They're getting away with some stuff, and Sonny was quite hot about it. She cut a tirade on them and said they were a couple of dirty Canadians who never got laid, and that's why they were getting mad at her. So,
Sonny's getting laid on Skype. She's exposing her vagina.
Yeah, well, we don't need to talk. No. We don't need to say what she's doing on Skype. It's bad enough she has a porno. We don't need to go into the other sordid details. I just want to know.
How old is she now? Like 43? I'm mad at her. I have heat with Sonny.
Okay, well, who doesn't? That's not really news, but I just wanted to throw that out there, that's one of the things that amuses me, is that they're allowed to, quote unquote, shoot and say things about other people in the industry that are kind of the butt of the joke right now, and they can actually make that joke and not get politically censored for it because it's their own show, and it appears to me that WWE is letting them have free reign, which is what makes the show funny and entertaining. But what say you, Jason?
It reminds me a lot of other Canadian comedy shows, especially Kids in the Hall. It reminds me a lot of that. Watching the first episode of that after the pay-per-view that just stunk out loud. Number one, it was entertaining. Number two, it really made me want to take a dump in Vince McMahon's office.
And steal that remote control of his, which apparently can run the universe. You can put anything on pause you want.
That too. There's also one more topic that I would love to cover before we go off the air too, Stevie.
Sure, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Holly Holm versus Misha Tate.
Oh, yes. The epic UFC 196 co-main event. It took 5 rounds. They went back and forth. I had it tied up 2-2 going into the 5th. Some people had the second round at 10-8. So even if Holly Holm had won that 5th round, it could have wound up a draw. But Misha Tate, with the most epic takedown of her entire career in the 5th and final round, choked out Holly Holm till she went unconscious. That was an amazing fight. I give, if there's a Dave Meltzer 5-star rating for title fights in women's bantamweight division, I give that 5 out of 5 stars. What do you think?
I would give this 5 out of 5 stars too. I got to shout out my friend Kendra, who told me not to sleep on this one months ago, who, as soon as she heard about the matchup, told me to watch this one. It did not disappoint. Round 1 was kind of like, they were feeling each other out. They kept their distance for most of the round. I thought that Holm got in the better of the strikes. Tate got some incidental punches in, but Holm really ruled round 1. Round 2, with a minute 30 left, with 30 seconds into the round, Tate just takes down Holm and keeps her and controls her on the ground completely. 30 seconds in until 4 minutes and 30 seconds later when that bell rings to end the round. Round number 2 was all Misha Tate. Round number 3 was pretty even. I thought it was too close to call. It was nowhere near as exciting as the round before it. Round number 4 was all Holly Holm, from elbows to the takedowns to connecting with punches and kicks at the end. Round number 5, I really thought that Misha Tate was behind on points until, with 2 minutes left in the round, she managed to take Holm down, take Holm's back, and slap on that rear naked choke and choke her. I mean, that came out of fucking nowhere. It was like, holy shit, look at this. She's actually got it cinched in. She's under the jaw this time. Round number 5, down on points. And then, yeah, it's just Holm goes out. She didn't tap out. She just went limp, and we have a new champion.
And what an amazing story for her to have already faced Ronda Rousey twice and not been able to climb to the top of the mountain with either Ronda Rousey fight. And now when Ronda Rousey is no longer the champion, she finally gets that match one more time. She gets one more title shot and she wins the title. What an amazing story for her. But now that leaves the open question. I'm going to ask both of you this. Do they do Tate versus Rousey 3, or do they do Rousey versus Holm and the winner faces Tate? What do you think, Jordan?
About Ronda Rousey?
Yes. What would you do with her if you were Dana White and Lorenzo Fertitta?
Oh, I would do with her is, sorry, not related to the show, but she is quite aggressive, so I probably wouldn't get away with it. But,
not that, I wasn't
Ronda
asking you to do that kind of, this is not that kind of fantasy booking. I'm talking about matchmaking, not the other kind of fantasy.
Oh, but, let's get a rematch going. Let's do it. They want to see it. The fans want to see it again. The MMA fans want to see it again. Let's all see it again. Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm.
Okay, well, there's our vote for a number 1 contenders match, and the winner faces Tate. What do you say, Jason?
This poses an interesting question, because you have to ask yourself, does Ronda Rousey want a rematch? We had her go on the Ellen show talking about how she was suicidal after losing the last match. We had her show up at that EA game thing where they were filming her, and she was quite a bit heavier and had not been training, and she's got all this Hollywood stuff going on. And I can see Ronda just kind of wanting to ride the Hollywood fame she has right now and really not want to get back into the ring. I mean, I think at this point that a Holm versus Tate 2 would draw a lot more fans in and be a much more compelling matchup than Tate versus Rousey 3.
That may be true, but I do know that Ronda Rousey wants to come back. She got a text message while she was at the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla show in Reseda telling her the results of UFC 196, and she sent a text back saying, time to go back to work. So even if she was taking some time off after losing the title to Holly Holm, she sees the fact that her hated rival Misha Tate is now the champion as fuel to her fire. She wants the title back now.
It would be, and I think Misha Tate is a much more rounded fighter now, having watched Holm defeat Rousey and come up with a game plan that Tate put in place to take Holm out. Now the question is, can Ronda be just as rounded and come up with a game plan to take the newfound Misha Tate out?
Which is why I'm almost in favor of doing the Rousey versus Holm rematch, because Holm so humiliated her in that fight that if we want to see if Ronda Rousey is the new well-rounded fighter, you make her go in there and prove it against the woman who humiliated her, and if she can win the rematch, then she deserves to face Tate to try to get the title back. That's my thinking.
I like that. I like that idea. I like the idea of putting Holm in there against Rousey, and whoever comes out of that the winner gets to take on Misha Tate for the title.
But I also don't have a problem with it if they go directly to Tate versus Rousey 3. I would still want to see that fight, even though I think Ronda Rousey should prove it and come back and get a win first. I'm not going to argue with the fact that she didn't get a rematch against Holly Holm, so she's still theoretically the number 1 contender who's never had her championship rematch, if you want to look at it from a pro wrestling point of view.
And from someone like me who doesn't follow UFC all that closely or all that often, are there any other female bantamweights kind of in that upper echelon there with Holly Holm, with Miesha Tate, and with Ronda Rousey that could contend for that title?
Well, you've got a few. You've got Kat Zingano, who actually holds a win over Miesha Tate, but she's been out of action for a little while, so it's an unknown quantity what level she's at right now. You've got Amanda Nunes, who had an impressive...
We saw her
right,
in that
at UFC
fight.
196, and she had an impressive first 2 rounds, but then she faded pretty seriously in the third, so I'd worry about her in a title fight if it went into the later rounds. I wouldn't know if she could hang for that long. That's a chink in her armor. But there are a few other women out there that can contend.
Yeah, that was something with the Nunez fight where she did dominate those first 2 rounds, and she was facing Shevchenko, and Shevchenko just came out with a fire in that third round. It was unfortunately too little too late, but she was throwing elbows, throwing knees, and yeah, there are definitely chinks in Nunez's armor, and that's why I was asking, are there any other elite females at that level? But it would be interesting to see, and it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, and it will be interesting to see who Holly Holm faces next, who Miesha Tate faces next, and if and when Ronda comes back, who Ronda faces next.
Yes, a lot of interesting possibilities, and a lot of things for us to discuss, not only on this show, but on Glove Up or Shut Up with my co-host Peter H. So, whether you hear it here or there, we'll be talking about it in the months to come. But let me get some cheap plugs before we wrap this up. Jordan, what do you want to plug tonight?
Well, this Saturday, if you're in the Minnesota area, check out Steel Domain Wrestling. It's going to be a great show. I will be there, and if you want to see a good night of wrestling in the great town of Richfield, Minnesota, be sure to check it out. This Tuesday, this is the big one, guys. This Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. Central, 11:30 p.m. Eastern, I want to make a change. I've done lots of interviews in the past, most of these interviews on Angry Marks. However, there's been a lot of times when I haven't lived up to my full potential. This interview with Chelsea Green is one of those interviews where it shows that if I have what it takes to actually be a wrestling journalist who's going to be on all of those websites, just like yourself, Steve. So this Tuesday is a very big day for me. As will Jordan Garber go over and get a great interview with Chelsea Green Tuesday, 10:30 p.m. Eastern on VOCNation.com. Jordan Garber now, it's big. I have a lot of big plans for the show, and you know what? It's going to be great. Now, besides that, follow me on Twitter at Jordan J. Garber for any other upcoming shows and or podcasts that I am on, and thanks for having me on once again, guys. I enjoyed myself.
It's a pleasure, Jordan, and I really do look forward to that interview with Chelsea Green, formerly of Tough Enough, formerly of an angle on WWE television involving Daniel Bryan, a big favorite of Lance Storm. He thinks the world of her, so I know that's going to be a fascinating interview. There's so many things you can go into with her. I can't wait to hear it. But Jason, let's get your cheap plugs.
Yeah, I want to plug the porno I'm making with Dixie Carter way down south in Dixie. So definitely go out and buy that. That's gonna be 999 yen, which works out to $8.83 when you round up. So yeah, New Japan World, NJPWWorld.com. The best 999 yen or $8.83 you can spend a month. You can check out my cooking blog, veggiebending.wordpress.com. You can get at me on Twitter at Great Sudoku. Again, with New Japan World on Saturday, bright and early at 3 o'clock in the fucking morning is the semifinals and the finals of the New Japan Cup. Also with Hayabusa passing, I want to plug a few Hayabusa matches. Definitely check out the retirement match he fought, Onita's retirement match against Hayabusa. Definitely check out Hayabusa versus Taka Michinoku, where he buries him under some chairs and does a moonsault. And of course, RVD and Sabu versus Hayabusa and Shinzaki from ECW. Some great Hayabusa matches to check out as well.
Well, you know what? If we're going to plug Hayabusa matches, I also have to point out that in 1994, he had a match that's now considered legendary. Go watch the Super J Cup match that he had with Jushin Thunder Liger. It shouldn't be that hard to find. It is a pro wrestling classic. Would you agree with me there, Jason?
I would agree. The 94 and 95 Super J Cups, yes, against Jushin Thunder Liger, even though he did the job to Liger. Just anything Hayabusa did, anywhere except the anal bomb match against Mr. Ganasuki. Don't watch that one unless you want to see a firecracker shoved between Hayabusa's butt cheeks. But yeah, pretty much anything Hayabusa did ever. I mean, this was the first guy to get into All Japan when Giant Baba wasn't booking any guys outside of his own company. So that says just volumes about the work rate and what Hayabusa did and the moves he innovated. And I mean, hell, I've got a Hayabusa tattoo on my left arm. The guy was the reason that I got into Japanese wrestling. His passing was very sad, and I encourage everybody listening to this, just go out on YouTube, Dailymotion, whatever your video site of choice is, Google some Hayabusa matches and watch them, because he is a phenomenal talent, and he will be greatly missed.
He will always be remembered. His legend will live on, even though he's no longer with us. But that's going to do it for Thursday Night AMP. For my co-hosts tonight, you can follow Jason Harlan at Great Sudoku. You can follow Jordan at Jordan J. Garber. You can follow me at Angry Marks. And you can check us out each and every Thursday night. Thanks for listening. Have a great week, everybody.